Welcome to the Resilient Georgia mini workshop on becoming trauma informed based on the Missouri model for trauma informed practice. This video content is based on Missouri Model's Framework for Trauma Approach document. You can access the document via this QR code. We have also adapted this document to an assessment and planning tool. You can download and follow along with this QR code. Before we begin, it's important to acknowledge the 5 trauma-informed principles on which the Missouri model is based. They come from research conducted by Maxine Harris and Roger Fallett and include safety, which is ensuring both physical and emotional safety for everyone involved, including the individual and the service providers; trustworthiness, which is establishing trust between the individual and the provider, which is crucial for building a therapeutic relationship; choice, which is empowering individuals to have autonomy and make decisions about their care, respecting their preferences and experiences; collaboration, which is working collaboratively with individuals, families, and other professionals to develop and implement a care plan that meets their specific needs; and finally, empowerment, which is helping individuals regain a sense of control and power over their lives, fostering self-efficacy and resilience. It is these principles that form the lens through which assessment, planning, implementation, and evaluation are facilitated, and I'll refer to them throughout the workshop. According to the creators of the Missouri model, the trauma-informed approach is not a program model that can be simply monitored by a fidelity checklist. Rather, it's a profound paradigm shift in knowledge, perspective, attitudes, and skills that continues to deepen over time. Here's why organizations aim to be trauma-informed. They want to ensure they do no harm, apply trauma-informed principles to daily practice, and use the same vocabulary to frame discussions so that they can increase the effectiveness of services by increasing awareness of trauma. The first phase is trauma awareness. In this phase, the key task is focused on awareness and attitudes. A trauma-aware organization has become aware of trauma and its impact and are considering what it means for clients and staff. During this phase of the process, leadership begins to understand trauma and seek out additional information on prevalence within their service population. They engage in awareness training that is comprehensive and aligned with the trauma-informed principles and best practices. Individuals within the organization know where to go for information and are supported in continued learning. The organization also begins to align new learning with its mission-driven work. An organization will know they're trauma-aware when its assessment indicates that most staff know what trauma is and its potential impact on interactions with others. In these organizations, the topic of trauma is regularly discussed. The next phase is trauma-sensitive. The key task in this phase of the process is knowledge application and skills development. These organizations explore the principles of trauma-informed care and work to get staff on board by aligning work with the principles, anticipating implications, and planning for change. An organization will become trauma-sensitive by processing trauma-informed values with staff, assessing strengths, resources, barriers to change, and insights into what might be needed for change. Leaders within the organization facilitate the assessment and the change process. In these organizations, champions emerge, and hiring aligns with plans for change. As part of their assessment, the organization examines its commitment to including its beneficiaries in the change process. Finally, it assesses its tools and processes for the ability to incorporate universal trauma screening. Organizations will know they have completed this phase when a measurable shift in perspective occurs, which can be seen in the policies and written documents that guide the organization's work, and when trauma training is embedded within the organization's infrastructure. The achievement of this phase can be seen in the organization's communication materials and their alignment with trauma-informed messaging. In these organizations, program staff actively seek out opportunities to build trauma-aligned skills, and the organization's leadership considers and works to mitigate trauma in staff. The key tasks of trauma-responsive organization are change and integration. These organizations have started to shift culture actively and are considering how their ways of being and infrastructure align with trauma principles. The process of becoming trauma responsive is action-based and includes planning and integration of principles into staff behavior and practice. They begin integration into staff supports and then integration of the principles into employee supports that address staff trauma, promote self-care, guide supervision, staff development, and performance evaluation. It also includes embedding the principles into the organization's infrastructure, which includes an environmental review, revision of record-keeping practices, examination of policies and procedures, and incorporation of self-help and peer advocacy. When this phase is complete, organizations will have evidence that staff are applying trauma principles to their work and that language is used within the organization to support safety, choice, collaboration, trustworthiness, and empowerment. Policies will support addressing secondary staff trauma. All clients are trauma screened, or a universal precaution approach is used. Additionally, people with lived experience will play meaningful roles throughout the organization. The environment has changed according to trauma-informed principles, and trauma-aligned assessments and treatment models are made available. The organization at this stage has a trauma-aligned response for crisis management. The final phase is trauma-informed and is a continual process that includes ongoing efforts for quality improvement. The key task of this phase is leadership. A trauma-informed approach is embedded in the organization's culture, infrastructure, and way of doing business. This approach is embraced and practiced by staff at all levels, so much so that the organization now serves as a role model and mentor to other organizations going through the process. During this phase, organizations engage in evaluation, ongoing assessment, and improvement of policies and procedures. Implementation is evaluated for fidelity, and evaluation of staff includes practice patterns and program assessments. During this phase, the organization implements and monitors interventions to address secondary trauma, works to reduce the stigma of trauma, and organization policies are prioritized to recruit trauma-proficient new hires. Organizations will know they are in the sustaining phase of trauma-informed status when they have evidence that leadership demonstrates a commitment to trauma-informed values, all staff are skilled in trauma-informed practices, and all aspects of the organization reflect a trauma-informed approach through assessment and revision. These organizations will know they have achieved trauma-informed status when they have evidence that the community stakeholders understand their mission as being aligned with a trauma-informed approach, and when the community routinely relies on the organization for their expertise and leadership in trauma-informed care. Keep in mind that becoming trauma-informed is a process that requires action and forward progress. This forward progress comes from a combination of assessment, strategic planning, and implementation based on assessment results. This collaborative process should be regularly discussed and assessed, and plans should be adjusted accordingly. The Missouri Model, a developmental framework for trauma-informed approach document, contains supportive resources for each process phase. Thank you for watching the Resilient Georgia mini workshop video, Becoming Trauma Informed, the Missouri Model for Trauma-Informed Practice.